Just 1 year ago, Chet Holmgren was lighting up NBA Summer League and looked every bit the transformational all-around player that he was hyped up to be by some. A legit 7+ footer with great body control, offensive skills, and defensive impact. Which sounds awfully familiar, doesn't it? Although not on the same level overall as a prospect, the intrigue around Chet last year was similar to what it is for Victor Wembanyama this year before Chet missed his entire first season with injury. However, Chet made sure to remind everyone at Summer League this year just what kind of player he should turn out to be. And for both Chet as well as Wemby, the first place that you have to start with each of them is their defense, their rim protection. Because even though it's very exciting to get caught up in all the offensive skills and the three-point shooting and looking like a guard at times at 7+ feet, and yes, that's incredibly impressive, and we're going to talk about that a ton throughout this video, by far the most impactful part of each of their games is their rim protection and their defensive ability, the length that they bring to the floor, and the body control and the quickness. All the stuff that translates offensively translates just as much, if not more. And that amount of length that he brings, despite not being a very big guy in terms of overall strength, although he has added some weight, that is going to be the most immediately impactful part of his game initially in what will now be his rookie season. Now, of course, when you're that tall, have that long of arms, rim protection is going to be one of your skills, but Chet also has really, really good timing. He'll go up with both hands and be incredibly vertical as well, but that length also allows him to look better defensively than maybe he is on the perimeter and moving his feet. He's not, incredibly quick, and honestly, neither is Victor Wembanyama because of their overall size. Like, these guys are going to be limited a little bit in terms of foot speed. But Wembanyama and then Chet as well, although to a lesser degree, have the ability to make up for that lack of foot speed with their incredible length. They're never going to be outstanding switchable perimeter defenders, but they're going to be serviceable because even if they get beat on occasion, they're going to be able to make up that ground and at least contest the shot. Now, obviously, him being a skinnier player is at times going to cause issues defensively. Teams are really going to go at him on the glass as well as attack him with bigger, stronger players, but that's just going to be something the Thunder are going to have to work around from a matchup standpoint. Okay, now let's get to the offensive stuff, because this year in Summer League and comparing it to what Chet did last year provides some really interesting contrast. Now, this year, there was a lot more stuff with Chet in terms of using him as a screener and as a pick and roll player. And there was a lot more indicators of this idea that Chet is going to be willing to roll to the rim and be a lob threat and be someone that is diving to the rim, not just a pick and pop player, although that's going to be an effective part of his game. And having that willingness to screen on the ball and roll to the rim is honestly a pretty big barrier for a lot of younger players, especially these bigger guys that come into the league with perimeter skills. They don't want to do any of this stuff. They don't want to screen on the ball. They don't want to set a screen off the ball and then slip off of that. But Chet not only shows a willingness to do it, but a pretty advanced understanding of what he's supposed to do in those situations as well. He's not just setting the screen and rolling to the rim every time. He's not just setting the screen and popping every time. There's some slips in there. He's using the threat of his three-point shooting and the threat of him popping out as a way to slip the screen early and get easy layups. There's a lot of really good and semi-advanced on-ball screening stuff from Chet that you really, really want to see out of a younger player. And OKC's guards in Summer League actually did a decent job of finding him on these, but obviously at the NBA level, one, the defense is going to be better, but two, his guards are going to be so much better than what he played with in Summer League that some of these opportunities that they missed him on, they're going to be able to find him. Shea, Giddey, Jalen Williams, when he's handling the ball, like these guys are going to do a much better job of finding him, and it's such a good sign already to see him utilizing some of those other areas of on-ball screening. But probably the most impactful part of Chet's game, of course, is going to be those perimeter skills that we saw last year. I mean, you can see here for some of these highlights from last year where he's showcasing a lot of on-ball creation stuff and some step back threes and all the really exciting, flashy things that get you really excited about a player like Chet initially. However, again, he's kind of turned things up a little bit and advanced some of those moves to really be much more translatable overall in an NBA game. So for example, attacking closeouts is going to be a huge thing for Chet. Like, he has to be able to be more than just a shooter on the perimeter, to be a great all-around offensive player. There are plenty of bigs around the league that can hit a corner three. They can hit an above the break three, but you don't really you're not really concerned about them offensively when they have the ball unless they are wide open and want to hit one of those shots. So like a good comparison here would be Al Horford. Al Horford can hit open corner threes. He can hit open above the break threes, but he's not going to do anything off of a closeout. But Chet is showing a lot of things that make you really excited in terms of his ability to be a complementary offensive player in a really high level way. I fully believe that he's going to be a very, very good shooter in the NBA. He's got the length, he's got the size, the form looks great, he looks confident in it. But when teams close out too much, when they really try and attack him and get him off his spot, there are some 1 to 2 dribble moves, some good footwork around the rim. There's a lot of other stuff here that he's added to his game that isn't just let me catch the ball in isolation in the mid post and go to work like I'm Kevin Durant, which is what people oftentimes get really excited about with these kinds of prospects. But the more translatable skill is being able to attack closeouts and create things out of advantages that have already been created by Josh Giddey, by SGA, by Jalen Williams, and turning that into baskets, not turning that just into spot up 3-point attempts, which I think he's going to be very, very good at. But whether it is him getting a kick out or more importantly, him getting an opportunity in a pick and pop situation, being able to make the defense pay for being over aggressive in a closeout, assuming he's a good shooter, all of that are incredibly translatable NBA offensive skills, even though at times in highlights, they might not look as impressive as some of these really cool, step back threes, mid post isolation stuff. When you think about Chet as a high level, like all-star level, potentially complementary player, and I say complementary player in a good way. I don't mean this guy's just going to stand in the corner and shoot threes and guard a little bit. I mean, he elevates your team in a way that is really, really difficult to find because of his rim protection, because of his versatility in terms of your defensive lineups, and then offensively, his ability to play off of other players. That's the kind of guy that Chet Holmgren can become, and I think will become ultimately for OKC if he can continue to stay healthy. In that role as the legitimate big guy, whether he's playing at the 5 or playing at the 4 alongside a bit of a bigger bruiser guy in certain matchups, that is a role that not only is incredibly valuable around the league, but also Oklahoma City needs desperately. Like, they have Jalen Williams, they've tried some other bigs, but they've generally played incredibly small over the last couple of seasons. And having a player like this that doesn't negatively impact their spacing, that improves their rim protection, and plays incredibly well alongside all the other guards and all the other playmakers that they already have. They don't need another guy out there that's going to be running ball screen stuff on the ball. They don't need another creator. They don't need another guy that's going to be attacking the rim. They need the guy that can finish all of those things, the guy that can make the 3-point shot, the guy that can attack the closeout, the guy that can pick and pop and create something for someone else out of an advantage that's already been created. I do think there's some decent, some passing instincts that have been flashed from Chet as well, on top of all the defensive stuff. I truly, truly think that if he stays healthy, continues to get stronger, continues to work on all these things, he's going to be such an incredibly impactful, high-level player that's going to tie a ton of things together for Oklahoma City. And I can't wait to see what he looks like in the regular season around what is an incredible core of young players there for the Thunder. And it's great that he's ended up in Oklahoma City and that Wembanyama has ended up in San Antonio, because these kinds of players, although they can be incredibly impactful and exciting, require a specific set of circumstances to really develop properly, so they don't try and do too much, so they don't get hurt, so that their talents are utilized properly, because they are skinnier players and they do have unique skill sets. And each of those teams have a development staff, a coaching staff, and a group of players around these guys that allow them to elevate everyone else rather than being someone that you're relying on solely for all the individual Kevin Durant-like stuff. And like I said, I can't wait to see how all that translates for Chet.